Hi, I want to show you how to program IP camera, and this will be a live example. So I have one IP camera on my home network, and I open the browser Chrome, and in that browser we'll type the IP address of the camera. So basically you do exactly the same, just obviously it will be your IP address. So as you can see, I have already tried that, and we wait for the, and that's the login of the page of the IP camera. It will be slightly different from different camera makes. This is IC real-time camera. That's every camera like that will look on the IC real-time, more or less. Obviously some software versions may change. Also IC real-time NVRs will look very similar. So we have a login admin and we type our password. Now once we do that, we can log in and we get a live view from our camera. Okay, that's our live view, that's our date, time, and there's a substream. I hope should be smaller, okay, because I have different settings. So I just basically have a camera on my window looking through the window, and that's why you have those reflections there, because it's just reflections on the glass of the window. Somebody is obviously doing some laundry here, trying. What I want to show you, okay, so this is mainstream. When you log into any camera, you should get something like that: mainstream, substream. That's a live view. Now what we want to go to, settings, and let's see what we have in settings, what sort of settings we can do. So as you can see, we have conditions. So you have picture, exposure, backlight, day and light, infrared light. As you can see, it's all more or less in the middle. I never changed that in that camera. I just leave that alone unless I need it to be changed because of some situation there. Sometimes camera gets old and you have to increase the brightness or contrast or something like that, or sharpen the picture. Profile management, we can leave that alone. This what is very interesting, that camera is zoom and focus, and I tell you why. Because this is varifocal lens camera, meaning we can zoom in and zoom out. So at the moment that's the zoom in version. So you can do this basically live. So you set up your camera on a pole or somewhere, and you go to your comms room, you connect from your laptop to the camera, and you log in into the camera as I did. Now let's zoom out a little bit. So we're moving this, let's say, to the maximum. Let's see what happens. Okay, we see some even parts of my window, some stuff is lying there, some boxes which I put in there. So that's a maximum zoom out, and you see camera is focusing automatically. So let's zoom in again. We don't want to look at this window. We don't have to look at the window. Okay, it's kind of adjusts itself to find the right focus. Okay. Let's go even farther. Okay, and again camera will be looking for a focus. It's trying to lose the dirt on the glass of the window. Let's hope it will. Okay, perfect. See, and I found the path, and it works. So let's go further. Okay, excellent. Very quickly found the. Let's go even closer. Or we can just do that. Oh, it was a bird or something flying. Okay. See, that's the maximum. So as you can see, it's a huge range on zoom in and zoom out. Let's go in the middle so you can see something actually. You can see there's a wind and so on. Okay, that's a zoom in and zoom out. In most of the cameras, if they are not varifocal don't have varifocal lenses, obviously you won't be able to zoom in, zoom out. All you will have just a still picture, not still, sorry, but just one focal length which you will be using. Okay, so we have this, we have conditions which we already went through. Let's go to video section. And that's interesting here. So you can see we can enable substream. If you remember from my from what I said, you can the mainstream is for recording on your DVR and VR, and a substream is for streaming that camera to something else. And DVR, or sorry, NVR in that case will be taking both streams, and then he can send substream, for instance, to some external device. So let's see what the settings I have. As you can see, I have the minimum resolution. Honestly, I was trying to set high resolution, but for some reasons on that browser on my computer it wouldn't work. So I won't be even trying to switch to high resolutions. This is basically what we have here. This is 1 megapixel, 2 megapixels. We have to multiply that, definitely above the 3 megapixels, but I couldn't make it work on that computer, so let's leave it alone. So what else? That's a bitrate, and usually it should be set to constant. C is constant, V is variable. So it should be set to constant, and we should have something around 2000. Actually, no, for this, no, I don't remember now. Yeah, but possibly like 2000, make it safe. And we have 15 frames per second. So let's go back to live, see if everything is working. Oh, still handling, okay. We can also, as you can see, it's 15 frames per second, and you can see those winds moving the bushes pretty nicely. And you can, if we go now back there and change it to, come on, change it to 25. That's basically 25, 30. It's a movie quality. Okay, so we do save, we go to live. You probably, in my opinion, you won't see really the difference. Let's see, the pictures jumping a little bit, probably. Maybe not. Maybe it was just a stronger wind. Seems to be slightly. Now there's a problem with transmission. You can see that it's moving, then stops, and it's jumping again. And the sun is going behind the clouds, so you see it's getting darker. But what I wanted to show you, so 25, didn't see that much difference. I don't think there's a problem with transmission. Let's go to 10, save. I want to show for you to see the difference in the frame rates. So as I was telling the course, there's not much difference between oh, there's somebody walking there. There's not much difference. You see it's freezing, kind of seems to be freezing. I don't want to go into that. It's maybe down to the frame rate, so the bit rate. But let's go again here. Okay, it's constant. This is 1280. Okay, it's apparently it's adjusting itself. Let's go to 5 frames per second. See, the bitrate is automatically adjusting. So if I go to 20, it's automatically finding what it needs. It's not in every camera like that. See, that's the 25. Let's go back to 5 frames per second. Save. And let's see if there's a big difference how the picture behaves. And you can see, yeah, there's a difference, especially when you look at somebody walking. Let's see if I can. Okay, we could zoom in and zoom out on this picture also, but you can see that there are breaks in this transmission, like so there's a movement and then there's no movement. It would be better visible if there would be movement in one direction. It's hard to see on moving trees, but they seem to be not natural, kind of. See this one? We could zoom in on that on that big one here. See how much we can get. See the movement is kind of unnatural. There are clearly breaks in that movement, so it moves and then stops and then moves again. But if you would go to proper, so let's say at least 15, this should improve. Yeah, it's hard to see because the wind stopped actually at the moment. Well, seems to be much more fluent. It will be very well visible if you would look at the walking person, or more than one person. Okay, let's go to other elements. I'm going to move it back. See something else, maybe a little bit. Push right, yes, too far. I want to see that. Okay, I want to see this moving bush nicely. So let's go back to settings again. This depends on your camera also. So you have 3 options here. This is the most common type of compression, as you remember from one of my lessons. This is slightly better. And this is 265. It's bigger compression, requires, if you look here, so we have 15 frames and it requires 768. Yeah, let's go back here. This will give you exact example how much you can save with different type of compression. So you have H264 and it gives you 1500 bitrate required. It's kilobyte per second. If you go to this one, there is no change, but if you go to 265, it goes basically half of 264. There is also 265 plus, but it's not available on that camera. So you can see with this you're getting much better bitrate. So you need to send less traffic to see with that compression. If we do save, let's see if there's some visible difference on the camera itself. Let's assume that it can play. It can, okay. Yeah, there was something went through the screen very quickly. I haven't noticed what. But if I look at this, it seems to be moving nicely and fluently, and there's no visible for me difference. But as I said, the best way is to look at the moving person. Then you will see especially for frames. So let's go back here. So that's the best compression. You can see we could save so much. If the same happens as you remember when we change frames. So we go to, let's say, 25. So we have 768 for 15 frames per second. Come on, let's go to 25 and you get 1000. So it's increasing. If you go below 15 was 768. If you go to 10, it's not much difference. You can see that you cannot save that much. Oh, now it's jumped. You have to try different settings, you know. 8, no difference. 9, there is difference. Okay, so that's where the difference was made. But anyway, settings 15 frames per second is pretty typical and very common. Okay, so we have that. So these are your video settings in the camera. You basically set around something around that. Resolution which can be which is available in that camera and in the NVR, and the same with the compression, because NVR also has to be able to handle both of them for you to set it that way. Okay, let's save it. Another settings which will be playing a lot is network, and you're going to TCP IP, and you can see straight away that's our IP address, that's your mask, that's a default gateway, which is my router at home, and you have the DNS settings, which I also have a lesson about in that course. Now there's a lot of different settings. We won't be going to them because they're, let's call it, the advanced. Okay, you don't need them at the moment. With typical settings of your IP system, you don't worry about it. Only you start worrying about other things when you want to connect additional computers from the outside of the system. Then you may need one of those. Okay, ports. As I said in some of the lessons, usually NVR and camera will have some standard ports set up. Here you have maximum connection, so 10 devices can connect at the same time. Excuse me, at the same time to the camera. TCP port and UDP. I didn't explain in my lessons what is TCP, what is UDP. Basically, TCP is the most typical for any communication over internet, when you're sending information and then you require confirmation that information was received. So if you send an email, this will be using TCP. A lot of video transmission could be a UDP, where you're basically sending the video, but you're not requiring confirmation that the video was received. This could be, for instance, like streaming movies or something like that. That's basically, and there are typical ports used for that. And usually, if you go to NVR, it will be exactly the same ports for that. HTTP, I mentioned that in my lessons. It's a port for the HTTP access, and that's exactly what we did. We went to the browser, we typed the IP address, and it doesn't display that, but the port, their browser automatically is set for port 80. If we would be using, see that says not secure, which means it's not using HTTPS. If we would be using HTTPS, we would have this port. RTSP port is the port for the online streaming. That's the one of the formats of the online streaming which can be used. So these are your ports. What else we can go? There's no storage. See, you could have a recording and stuff set there. You can go to some local hard drive and so on. You can basically tell the camera where to go, where to send the picture. See, there's no local, because some of the cameras, see, there's another thing which I didn't say in the course. Some cameras may have SD cards and may record locally. This is through FTP, so the camera would need so there should be some FTP server on the on the same network, and camera can send it. Let's leave it alone then. Typically, you're not setting any storage on the cameras. 99% of systems. Okay, system setup, general. Name, that's probably the camera. Language, video standard. In the US, obviously, will be not PAL, will be NTSC. NTSC. Account. There's only one account at the moment, but you can have multiple accounts. Group name is admin, admin meaning that's the highest level. And you can modify the password here. There's also something what's called OnVIF user, but in that same at the time it is exactly the same, but you can create separate OnVIF user. So when you that's basically when you log into the camera through the HTTP, but you can have also this OnVIF user. Safety. There's not much here. We won't be doing that. We can default the camera. If I default the camera, IP will be lost. And okay, so this will default without defaulting IP. This will default to factory IP also, and factory password. And I will do this in a moment. There's also a possibility of upgrading software, and then here we have information version. So it's it says what is the web version, system version, serial number of the camera, OnVIF version. What we will do, I will default this camera in this video, and then in another video I will install IP config tool for IC real-time cameras, and we will find on our network that camera, and we program that IP again for that camera. Thank you. Oh, sorry, maybe not thank you. I will do factory default. When I do that, what will happen, we will lose the connection with the camera, or it will freeze or something like that, because the password will change and IP will change. So I have to type my password. Save. Yeah, that says don't close the browser. It's yeah, but it may hang. We see the connecting, so it won't be able to connect because IP has changed. So it will basically end of that will be that it cannot connect or something like that. So there is no point of waiting. Yeah, the site can be reached. Yeah, see, and that's your IP address, default IP address of that camera. So most of the producers will have some sort of default IP address for their products, and for IC real-time that's the default address, and it cannot connect for the simple reason because our network doesn't have 1 here but 192 in this spot here, so it cannot connect, and it never will. As you remember from my lessons, if you want to connect to any device on the LAN, they must be in the same IP range. This IP range is different because we have 1 in this position instead of 192. So let's leave it alone. Let's close it now. Now I will close that, finish that lesson, and I will do lesson about the IC real-time tool. As I said in previous lesson, in this lesson I will install IC real-time config tool. So let's type what we need. So it will be IC real time config tool. IC real-time support, downloads, blah blah blah. Let's hope that I will quickly find it. Support. No, I don't have any questions. What are you looking for? I already typed what I'm looking for. Desktop viewing apps, utility. See, these are apps for viewing, ICRSS. So you have a client software and you can view your cameras on that. Yeah, now it's saying, because I wanted to install on the Chrome browser, but okay, that doesn't matter now. So what we're looking for here, I say config tool for NVR, DVR for Windows, for Mac. Okay, that's what we're looking for. So with this you can configure NVR, DVR and IP cameras, assuming that they will be in with default passwords. So we do download, but we defaulted that camera just a moment ago. So download, want to see where the file is. Okay, let's see if I can start it from here. I rarely use Chrome, I'm mostly using Firefox, so sorry if something will take longer than usual. Okay, so I have to unzip it first, sorry. So let's see if I can drag it somewhere here. No, I cannot drag it here. Show in the folder, that's the best way. Sorry, but it went to some other folder. I have another screen. What? Is this finished or not? Ah, sorry, that's the file. And we unzip it. And again it opened on my second screen. Okay, that's your tool application. Let's run it. Yes, I want. No, I don't want Chinese. No offense to Chinese people. Next. Yes, you have to agree. Install. And it's installing config tool for IC real-time cameras and NVRs and DVRs. Basically IC real-time. This very same tool is being used for Dahua. Okay. So I close all those things because we don't need them. Close the other window which is there. And there's our config tool. It will ask you, because it works as an exe file, allow access, you have to allow the access. Allow. Okay. So you see, it already found the IP camera there. Uninitialized. What it means that camera is brand new or defaulted as we defaulted camera. Why there's another one? Oh. Just need one. So what you have to do, you have to initialize. And there it is. Initialize. Okay, so you can do multiple, you can do one. So we initialize that camera. When you initialize that camera, it will ask you for a password. So, but I will leave it as it is, I hope. I hope that it will let me go, because then we can access the camera from the tool. Yeah, doesn't let me. Okay. Anyway, I'll just do admin, see what happens. See, it will force you to create proper password. So again, no, I don't want to register anything. No. Finish. Okay, so we have a camera. It's initialized, and there's the IP. So there's a few things you can do. You can basically go into the camera. You cannot do the web login because we are in different IP range than the computer. But what we can do, we can have a look. So one thing is the IP modification. Yeah. So as you can see, we can acquire DHCP. So system will automatically add some IP, or we can program static. So let's do that. And let's do okay. It didn't let us because the camera has a different password, and that's the problem with the because it forced us to it forced us to create a password when initially logging in, and I created password, and once I created password, you won't be able to do that. And basically what we have to do, we have to connect the laptop or change the IP of that computer, log into that, and then we can change IP. So we have to change IP of that computer first, so we can be able to log into that camera. Normally, if camera, depending on the camera, if with all the camera, it won't force you to change the password. But if it, let's see if we can. There's nothing there we can do. Actually, hang on. I can change the password here because I know the password. And let's see if we can. Okay. And we have that, and let's see. Ah, it did. But it doesn't tell us what the IP is. So again, see this one? You can, if you know the password. Sometimes you are working on a system where you don't know the password. But if you know the password, you can program there, and we have to refresh. And see, now we have this camera has changed. Its initialize has changed IP. What is advantage of using this software? Advantage is that, as you remember, my IP range was that, but I still could see that camera in that software. If I would try different tool, I wouldn't find that camera. But using a camera tool, or I call it device tool, from the producer of your device, it will let you, in most cases, definitely in IC real time, to see the camera even if it's in different IP range. That is the main thing. So it gave the camera IP number, and it's allowing us to log into the camera. Let's see. These are details of the camera. Type, IP, camera, port. So it's using the TCP IP. not a UDP. MAC address, subnet, gateway, and so on. And now you can click that and you should be able to, but it will open the, it will open the Internet Explorer, but there was a problem with some plugin there, so I won't be using that. So what I will do is, so it remember it's 53, we can go there, 192.168.192.53. Click that, and hello, here we go. Admin and my password. And we're back in the camera. We changed the IP, so as you remember, we in the previous video we defaulted, and we used that to discover a camera on our network. And once we did that, we changed the IP to match our network range subnet. Now see, it's not loading, and let's get rid of it. The problem with that will be most likely the settings. As you remember, I was telling that there was problem with getting a video on high res. It went to the highest resolution, and just I don't know, my computer doesn't handle that. Let's see if it will handle that after defaulting. I doubt it will, because I already was trying something similar. No. So again, maximum I can handle on this computer is this, and we go to 15, and we can go to 265 compression. Save, and we can do the same on this. There's another compression type on this one. Let's see what this one customize. Okay, see, it's very high. Don't use those. Use any of H264, 265, 265 plus. Okay, and now we should get a live view without any problem. Come on. Okay, we're back to our live view. We are in Ireland, so you know there's a lot of clouds, winds, and it's raining all the time almost. Oh, there's a bird fly. See, this was actually good to see the movement, but you could see that sometimes it helps, sometimes not. It's good to see, as I said, movement on a moving person, and then you can adjust frames, but around 15 frames per second is okay. So again, we can do that. You can adjust the focus or not, but what we did, we used that tool which allows you to basically see the parameters and change IP and initialize the new camera on new DVR or NVR. And that's basically how it works. So we could do this just again, default it again in the settings, and then find it again, and that way you can. So this will find all the devices which are from that producer, which is IC Real Time. So whatever number is, you can narrow down to just IC IP cameras, or you can narrow to NVRs, which we don't have any now, or DVRs, and it will tell you what is there, what is not there. Also, it lets you go for IPv6, but we don't have IPv6 here. Basically, that's it. Thank you for your attention. Hi. This video will show you how to set up your DVR. First of all, this is a new DVR for me, so I don't know, what will work, what will not work. As you can see, it is set to, we have connected two cameras which I just put on my window, so you see all those reflections on the windows and so on. So the goal of this DVD, this lesson is just to quickly talk you through the settings of the DVR or NVR. Will be very similar, with this difference that whatever you will be getting on the NVR will be coming only from IP cameras. This is hybrid, so we have at the moment you can see two HD cameras connected. During the process of setup, we will also add an IP camera to that. So let's go to the setup. Password is nothing, so it's a brand new DVR, so let's go. Okay, now what you can see here, and I mentioned this multiple times, probably in the lessons, you have to set proper time zone. So your time zone is what it is. Where is the, I'm looking for a London, Dublin. Oh, there it is. You have to make sure you set proper time zone, because otherwise it will not display properly. Then you will have time difference on your device. Now the way I date like is this format. Obviously I'm not an American and I like 24-hour. That's fine. So we have a Dublin time zone, we have a system time, it's correct, and we go next. Now it's trying to connect to the network, but I didn't connect the network cable. So what I will do, I will connect my network cable right now, and I will tell it to try again. And we have it. So we can go to the next. This is for adding apps for your system, so you can either have an iPhone or Android app installed, and then you can just upload the serial number for that camera. But we won't be doing that in this lesson. This is just a type of setup which we would do everywhere. Now this camera, this DVR now is trying to find some IP cameras, and I have already one IP connected on the network. It is there, so as you can see, it did find it. So this is the same camera, just using different formats, different name. I don't know why it's doing that, but it has apparently two different. This camera has two different, how to call it, MAC addresses, depending on which name will you use. So if let's call it, let's assume that's on with Dahua. Okay, so once you set up your network, it automatically will try to find different cameras. System is able to handle maximum 4 cameras. It's a tiny and a cheap system, but still it's good enough. So you have this camera here, we can pick whichever we want. Yeah, we can try on with, and we do this, we click that, and now we can, why did it go straight to the, okay, it goes straight to the Dahua. For some reason it doesn't want to go to this one. It doesn't matter. Okay, that's a different one. Let's go through the Dahua. Oh, sorry. Let's go through the Dahua one. Doesn't really matter. It just shows you what is available, and now you can assign to different. See, like 1, 2, we have already HD cameras assigned, so that's why it's not showing IP, and it will allow you to add 2 IP cameras. So this is offline, so we use this one, which is Dahua. We have protocol is OnViv. That's the IP address. No, this one we're doing, sorry. So we're doing this. We have a protocol is OnViv. Device name is IPC. It's fine. Channel 1, IP channel 1, sorry. Port 80, as you remember from lesson from ports, port 80 is HTTP port. Password admin, sorry, login admin, and password is, I have to, that's my training test type password, so don't think that you can log in to my equipment with that. This is just for the purpose of mainstream OnViv. Okay, so we're adding only that, yeah. That's what if we would tick that, this is offline. It's not there. There we go. And we have a camera connected already, so you can see IPC camera is already working. So this was initial setup. We have 2 cameras, HD cameras, and 1 IP camera. This is, as I said, just through my window, so you have all those reflections, some flickering maybe or something like that, which don't worry about that. If your cameras will be good and properly set up, it will look much better. This is just to quickly go through different setup elements. So if we right click your mouse, right click, you have different menu elements. So there you can choose different views, yeah. View different cameras which you can pick, or you can have 4-way view. So you can have 1 camera, or you can have 4 cameras, doesn't matter really, yeah. Main menu, setup wizard, that's what we went through, that's it. Quick setup, that will be adding those cameras. Record mode. But before we go there, let's go to main menu. Okay, and in the main menu you have multiple elements. Logout, so you can log out, shut down. Logout is used when you have multiple users on the same camera. Reboot is just when you're rebooting. Okay, go back. What info is, it's basically info hard drive. So we have a hard drive, about 1 terabyte, normal, read and write, that's correct. Logs will be telling you what happened, you know, turn off, turn on, when you turn it off, when you turn it on, some different configuration changes and so on. Version will tell you what it is, build version, MAC address, serial number, system version, and so on. Yeah, but in advanced we have storage, account storage we already checked, yeah. That's our hard drive. Accounts, you can have different users with different rights. We're just using admin. You can have online user. Output adjust. You can have different, brightness, contrast, and so on. VGA, HDMA. That's fine. Device upgrade, restore. That's the defaulting. You can default. That's for import export of different. If you want to save footage. So we go back. What we are interested in at the moment is system. So in system we have a general, and we already set dated time. Storage full override, that's correct. PAL, that's fine. Encoding. So you can have different, as you remember, we were always talking about two different streams, mainstream and substream. In this case, substream is extra stream. So as you can see, we have that's only available compression H.265, which is very good compression. 25 frames per second. We can set less, but there is no need as we have only 3 cameras. I usually like to set this one to constant, and then you're getting bigger bitrate. This I usually like as a D1, and again I change it to that, and we click OK. Now what I will do, and then this is getting us out. What I will do now, we have those settings, and what I will do, I will copy that, and then I will go to another camera and paste, and OK, and go back, and our third camera, and paste. Will let us paste or not? No, I didn't. So again, copy, and now try to. No, it won't let us. It's because this is the this actually already, this is IP camera. That's why this different settings. But still, I go for my what I usually like to have. As you remember from adolescence, it is enough to have like 15 frames per second. But on the extra stream, which is substream, you set less, because this is what will be for streaming. This is for or for instance on a multi-screen. On some DVRs, this will be used for multi-screen, and this is for recording on hard drive. So we want the best quality there. You can even go for 25, and OK. Okay, so we're encoding. Network is already there, as you remember. So the IP address on our home network gateway, it was set for DHCP. This is what happens on the DVR without. If this is set for DHCP, it will automatically acquire the IP address, subnet, and gateway. What I usually do, I change it to that and then click OK, so it won't change its IP address later on. There's a media port and HTTP port. HTTP port would be for management. Media port is usually could be used for streaming, if you want to stream, if you want to see those cameras on another device, on another network. But we have it set already. Display, what do we have? We have 1920 by 1080, and that's OK, and most likely we have it on all channels. Net services, it's not PTZ pan tilt zoom camera, we don't have it. Tour, it's setting sequence of you're setting sequence of different cameras, but we won't be doing that. Cancel. Digital is sorry, going back to that. That's a different type of camera. We won't be doing that also. This is what we were already doing. As you can see, digital channels, and that's what we have here at the moment. And basically these are the main settings. We also have to look at the record configuration. So you have every channel. As you can see now, you have different types of recording: regular, detect, alarm. So detect will be movement, regular will be continuous, and alarm will be when alarm goes off. So if it's connected some sort of alarm to the DVR. In modern DVRs, the way I set it up, in majority of my installations, I never use those. So what I will do, I will turn them off. I will click OK. It shouldn't come out back, but it does. Nothing I can do about it. So I do copy, and I will copy paste the same for all other channels. Paste and click OK. And okay, so we have number 2 is already changed, and let's go to number 3, and we do paste and OK. And if we go, see, that's stored already, that information. And then another thing which you will be doing is playback. What you will notice, if you did work with other DVRs, you will notice that playback is basically looking like the one in IC Real Time and Dahua and some other makes, but for some reasons they're all similar. I guess they're using the same software. But what we will do, so we can close it. This also can be accessed straight from the cancel. Right click your mouse and there's a playback. Now let's go to the previous day, not previously, like on 8 I was recording something. What this can do, it can only for some reasons display 2 channels at the same time. So I will pick those 2 channels and I will pick a time somewhere there. Okay, that's what we were I recorded shortly just on 8 to show how it works basically. What also you have to see is the zoom in. So we have 24 hours, then we have 2 hours. So we can move from 2 and so on, and we have a 1 hour, for instance. Also what we can do, we can copy. I have to find my USB stick. So you can copy a footage. And what I will do, I will connect my USB stick to the DVR, and we can mark a footage. So we have those 2. Let's do a pause. We'll start editing, and you don't have to worry about that. This happens because I was just showing how it works. And we can do end editing, and now we can go to backup. And now what it will show us, there is a hard drive, is a USB drive which I have, and if you click backup it will give you the files. Now what I noticed on this one, DVR and some other ones, it will let you do one file at the time. So you have to mark one camera and then another one. So you mark, you have only channel 2, we don't have channel 3 as you can see. So we can do that quickly. It's pretty quick as you can see. Okay, backup finished. We can close it. Now what we'll do, we'll just go to camera 3. So we pause that. And We only go to camera 3. Something is pretty slow here. Yeah, I have to do that. You have to actually click stop to be able to change cameras. So we do this, and we have only that. And we go back to this date. We can zoom in, let's say here. Sorry, you have to play first. Now we can zoom in. So something is playing, yeah. Start. Move it to the end. That's the end. And we go to backup. And again, you pick your device, backup, and you have to. Now this one we already stored, so we're going with this one. Yeah. And it's backing up that footage to the device. Backup finished. And basically that's how we do that. That's how it works. This is the basic usage of the device, of the DVR, hybrid DVR. So meaning you have HD cameras and IP cameras. Thank you.